words of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, do not allow your mind to be too active and to live in a turmoil. Do not jump to conclusions from a superficial view of things. Always take your time, concentrate, and decide only in quietness. Always with my love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, book Letters on Yoga, volume 4, page 313, topic Indifference to what others think or say. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is not what others think of you that matters, but what you are yourself. When you are doing sadhana, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo, when you are doing sadhana, you have not to care what others want or think or say, but only for what is right and what the Divine wants of you. It is no use listening to what people say or to suggestions. Both are things by which one must learn not to be affected. A certain samatha in these matters is needed in order to get the true poise. The one thing that matters is the realization of the Divine. So long as you go on listening to what people say or listening to your own wrong imaginations or insisting on your desires, how do you hope to get peace? Nobody ever got peace in that way. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, to become entirely indifferent to the good and bad opinion of others, especially those who were near and stand on the truth alone, is very difficult. Some reaction of the old nature can easily come across, but if one remains calm and firm within, these surface reactions quickly disappear, and their rejection helps the remnants of the old nature to disappear. If you look closely, you will see that all these things, the rudeness of one person, the anger of another, are exceedingly slight things which should be received with indifference. Do not allow them to trouble you so much. The one thing of supreme importance is your sadhana and your spiritual growth. Let nothing touch or disturb that. It is not good to allow yourself to be upset so much by what others say or do. There is a quietude and happiness which you can find by living in yourself, in contact with the Divine, which you will never get from outside. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, as far as being kind, there is nothing harmful in kindness itself, but there is no reason why you should allow another to invade you with things you don't want to feel or hear. There is a measure in all things, and besides, one should keep oneself inwardly free and not admit that the vital movements of others should be a cause of difficulty. One has enough to be combating one's own. Such reproaches are quite usual from those who do not understand against the sadhak when he remains firm in his path against the ordinary human vital demands upon him. But that should not perturb you. It is better to be a stone on the road to the Divine. It is better to be a stone on the road to the divine than soft and weak clay in the muddy paths of the ordinary vital human nature, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next topic, overcoming attachment. Lord Sri Aurobindo says, all attachments are hindrance to sadhana. Goodwill you should have for all, psychic kindness for all, but no vital attachment. Yes, certainly there should be no attachment to another person. The emotional feeling is safe only when it is governed by the psychic. For the psychic love is essentially a permanent soul sympathy which is not attached but self existent and self content, pouring itself out but ask for nothing. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says the safest course in sadhana is to turn all to the divine and to leave any other relation till all relations can be founded in the divine. Till all relations can be founded in the divine, but that is not easy for everybody. Only a few seem able to do it. Yes, it is the bother of these attachments, the reason why the yogis were so down on them, the Vedantas especially, with their insistence on the breaking of the heart knots. They must have known from their own difficulties in the matter. Lord Sri Aurobindo says, if you expect a return for your kindness, if you expect a return for your kindness, you are bound to be disappointed. It is only those who give love or kindness for its own sake without expecting a return who escape from this experience. A relation also can be established on a sure basis only when it is free from attachment or when it is predominantly psychic on both sides. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, when one deals with people, there can be always a projection of consciousness to them or a reception of them into the consciousness. But that does not amount to an attachment. Something much more is needed, a grip of the vital on the person or a grip of the person on one's vital, etc., says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next topic, mixing with others, page 325. Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is true that mixing with others too closely tends to lower the condition. If they are not themselves in the right attitude and live very much in the vital, in all contacts, what you have to do is to remain within, keep a detached attitude, and not allow yourself to be troubled by the difficulties that arise in the work or the moments of people, but keep yourself the true moment. Do not be caught by the desire to help others. Do and speak yourself the right thing from the inner poise and leave the help to come to them from the divine. Let me repeat. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, do not be caught by the desire to help others. Do and speak yourself the right thing from the inner voice and leave the help to come to them from the divine. Nobody can really help, only the divine grace. It might not be prudent to mix freely and too often, enough to relieve any tension of the sadhana, but not so much as to dissipate its intensity. Aloofness is very necessary at certain stages of the sadhana, but it cannot be maintained all through. One must be able to mix with others and act on them. It's a right to mix a little with others. It keeps to help you to keep the balance. Not to mix with others deprives of the test which contact with them imposes the consciousness and the chance to progress in these respects. Mixing is unprofitable from the spiritual point of view when it is only to indulge the vital, chat, interchange of vital moments. But abstention from all mixing and contact is also not desirable. It is only when the consciousness truly needs a full retirement that such retirement can be made, and even then it may be full but not absolute. For in the absolute retirement, one lives a purely subjective life, and the opportunity for extending the spiritual progress to the outer life and testing it thoroughly is not there. It is good that you got quickly the right attitude to what had happened. That indicates a good progress in the consciousness. To be able to remain back while conversing with others, entering only superficially without being involved is really the first step towards the secret of mixing with others without lowering the inner consciousness, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic taken from page 334, talking or thinking about others. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, talking about somebody may very well have an effect on him. It often does, for it can be an effective formulation of a thought or a feeling which, so embodied, will reach him. But I don't suppose mere mechanical thoughts or ill-formed imaginations would do that. At any rate, it must be rare and need exceptional conditions or a play of forces in which a trifle counts. Yes, one's bad thoughts and good thoughts can have a bad or a good effect on others, though they have not always, because they are not strong enough, but still that is the tendency. It is therefore always said by those who have this knowledge that we should abstain from bad thoughts of others for this reason. It is true, says our Lord, that both kinds of thoughts come equally to the mind in its ordinary state. But if the mind and mental will are well developed, one can establish a control over one's thoughts as well as over one's acts and prevent the bad ones from having their play. But this mental control is not enough for the sadhak. He must attain to a quiet mind, and in the silence of the mind receive only the divine thought forces or other divine forces and be their field and instrument. To silence the mind, it is not enough to throw back each thought as it comes. That can only be a subordinate movement. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says one must get back from all thoughts and be separate from it, a silent consciousness observing the thoughts. If they come, but not only oneself thinking or identified with the thoughts. Thoughts must be felt as outside things altogether. It is then easier to reject the thoughts or let them pass without their disturbing the quietude of the mind. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says not to be disturbed by either joy or grief, pleasure or displeasure, by what people say or do, or by any outward thing is called in yoga a state of samatha, equality to all things. It is of immense importance in sadhana to be able to reach this state. It helps the mental quietude and silence as well as the vital to come. It means indeed that the vital self and the vital mind are already falling silent and becoming quiet. The thinking mind is sure to follow, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic, limiting contacts with others. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is certainly a great help to be able to limit one's contacts, provided it is not carried too far. I must note, however, that even with limited contacts, undesirable waves can get in. It is a measure of precaution but does not make you absolutely safe. On the other hand, complete withdrawal carries one to another extreme and has its own dangers. The complete safety from stuff distracting, disturbing, externalizing can come only from a growth of the consciousness within. In the interim, absorption and limitation of contacts like that can be a helpful measure if used in a judicious way. One has to go inside, into the inner being, and one can minimize contacts if necessary, not as an absolute rule, provided there is a real living in the inner being and sufficient contact with outside things not to lose one's hold of practical realities. But if there is an isolation which brings depression, inertia, unhappiness, gloom, or else morbidity of any kind, then it is evident that the retirement is not wholesome. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the avoiding of contacts does not by itself bring the fundamental immunity. It is only a change of that part of the consciousness that can do it. But it might be advisable to minimize the contacts that strongly brings the trouble, so long as the change is not there. It is not certain that a long retirement brings about the change of the subconscious. The long retirement of the sannyasin is a part preparation of the retirement from life altogether. It is different in our yoga, which wants to change but not reject life. Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is true that one has to try to keep the inner conditions under all circumstances, even the most adverse. But that doesn't mean that one has to accept unnecessarily unfavorable conditions when there is no good reason for their being allowed to go on. A certain amount of self defense is necessary so that the consciousness may not be pulled down or out constantly into the ordinary atmosphere or the physical strain by being forced into activities that have come to become foreign to you. Those who practice yoga often seek refuge in solitude from these difficulties, that it is unnecessary here, but at the same time, you may need to submit to being put under this condition of or this kind of useless strain always, says our Lord. Next subtopic, inner detachment preferably to outer withdrawal. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says inner withdrawal is always much better than physical withdrawal. I say that all that no vital relations with anyone is magnificent if you can do it. But can't you see that the inward change that is wanted, the inward plunge? But can't you see that it is the inward change that is wanted, the inward plunge? These dramatic outward breaks lead only to new journeyings. Neither you or anyone can keep it up. If there comes a strong ingoing movement, then there is another matter. That of itself would make it possible to readjust the relations or to withdraw if necessary. But splashings about on the surface would lead to anything? But splashings about on the surface, will it lead to anything? It doesn't look like it. It is not a physical retirement that is needed, but an inner detachment from the mental formations and vital desires. To find the real self above and within and live in that, not in the mind's conceptions or vital reactions. These must be observed and looked at not as one's own but as moments of a surface ignorant nature, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo.